Good evening and welcome to the 67th Sydney Film Festival, virtual edition and awards, and the screening of Charter. We're now going to do a Q&A with the director, Amanda Kernell. Welcome. Great to have you with us, even if virtually and not in person.
Yeah, I wish I could have been there though.
We really wanted you to be here because I must tell you that Sammy Blood we screened at the festival in 2017 and it was a big hit at the festival, really very, very popular. And it's a film we took throughout the country. We also have a travelling film festival and in many rural and regional towns across Australia. And the film was really the hit of that year. So it's a great pleasure to have Charter at the festival and wonderful to be able to speak to you. And we hope that you'll join us in person in Sydney with your next film. Congratulations. I think Charter is an incredible film. You've described it as a love letter to all divorced parents. Why was it important for you to tell this story or to tackle this material?
Well, I'm a child of generations of divorced parents. So, I mean, I've had this story with me for a long time. It's not my exact personal experience growing up, but I grew up with divorced parents and having to deal with the sense of responsibility and dilemmas that you need to as a child. And then I wanted to look at this a difficult divorce from a parent situation, and I also think I make films about my fears, and one of them is definitely that you can have children and lose them, and then what do you do? Like, how far would you go fighting for your children if you're worried about them, and if you risk losing them and not seeing them at all? How far would I go, and when is it too far? You know, when should you let go? And especially as a woman and as a mother, is there a place where it's okay to let go? I'm not sure. Like, aren't you supposed to sacrifice yourself completely for your children?
Right. Yeah. Yes. I mean, what I love very much about the film, how you gradually increase the tension, and the audience is always never quite sure of who is the good parent and who is the bad parent. Is Alice doing the right thing, or is she actually dangerous? And you play with that very carefully, and I think it's fantastic because we're never quite sure, and perhaps the end is that, well, no one's perfectly good or completely bad. Was that really what you were trying to show? And is that an expression of your love for divorced parents in a way?
Yeah, it is. I think I made quite a lot of films that are, for me, about forgiveness. You know, if you were in this position, in this situation, it's very, very difficult to do the right thing, I think, and it's difficult to know if you're the better parent. And I also wanted to put the audience in the same kind of insecure position that you are as a parent risking losing your children. You know, in these difficult custody cases, you are in this state of constant stress and insecurity, and it's kind of nightmarish in a way and thriller-like. which is a devastating place to be in real life. But in a film, it's of course, in a way, it's suspenseful.
Sure.
Yeah, so I wanted us to be in that, you're not sure. And I think, of course, in some situations, you can be sure that you're the better parent, but in many situations, you can't be 100% sure how your children are doing at the other parent. So, and that's much worse in a way, right? Because then, how far should you go?
Sure.
What if you're not the better parent? That's another kind of nightmare, right?
Yeah. And I believe amongst the cast and crew yourselves, you had many different opinions of the character Alice and whether what she was doing was the right thing or the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And did those discussions have quite an impact on how the screenplay, for instance, worked, or how the film was constructed?
The film business is filled of, as you probably know, divorced parents, right? And as everywhere else in society, I guess. So yeah, we had a lot of discussions also with the cast. If you is it okay to leave? If you have children, at what point is it okay to get a divorce? Like how much should you stand? To keep the family together, and is it like, if it's a loveless relationship, is that enough to break up the family and move on, and or not, or should you stand a lot more? Yeah, they were for sure not. People really discuss this, and I mean, parenthood and motherhood is something everyone has an opinion on, right? And it's I think it's very difficult to be a good mother. I think we judge mothers quite harshly. It's a thin line where to walk if you should be a good parent in other people's eyes, and especially if you've lost them. I think I guess it's the same all over the world, but I mean, since we have a view that a mother who doesn't have her children, then something must be very wrong with her, or it's a personality flaw. Then she chose not to be with them, which is also not a good thing. So then we judge her. And I think it's a very difficult position to be in, to prove yourself. So I wanted to be with someone in that. I think it's important to be, I mean, film is such an empathy machine. So you can disagree with the main character, but to be with someone in this difficult position, I think it's important. Not being with people who are not always necessarily making the right choices.
Sure. And to convey this very complex character who's not always making the right choices, but we're rooting for her throughout. The choice of the actress must have been really, of course, crucial for the film to work, because you're playing with the audience so much and kind of misguiding them sometimes, perhaps. So Anne Dahl-Torp is absolutely fantastic as Alice, I think. Tell us how you came upon her as the lead.
She's Norwegian, and she hasn't done any bigger parts in Swedish before, and now she plays this in Swedish. And that was, I guess, a well-kept secret that she could speak. She was fluent in Swedish as well. And I just think I needed a mother that had this like rock star quality that you want to be in her light, but she's also vibrating in a sense like she can be dangerous, I guess, or you want to be with her every second because you're not sure what she's going to do next, which is a quality she has on Anna Dahl-Torp. But I think I'm in the process of writing this. Of course, I know a lot of things from before, from personal experience and so on. But I also make a lot of interviews with lawyers, with social workers, but especially with parents who have lost their children or fought for their children, and quite a few mothers who went abroad with the children and then been to prison for that. It's a 2 to 4 years prison sentence in Sweden if you're not allowed to bring them and you don't have the custody rights. And I think what they could have been anyone. I mean, they are nurses and teachers, and they hadn't committed any crimes before. The people I met with, at least, but they are for sure people who fight rather than give up. So I needed someone who is constantly, trying to figure, trying things, right? And I think she has this amazing quality. You should really see more of her films. She's made a lot of Norwegian films, but she's not making a lot abroad because she wants to be with her kids. So we had to convince her to do this, because she's like, I don't like to be away from my kids for so long.
Fantastic. Sticking to the actors, I believe that the two incredible child actors, because they're also fantastic and have to be at times really vulnerable, at times really strong, at first resisted being in the film.
Yeah.
Didn't want to be in the film.
No, I have a thing for people with a strong integrity. I guess I'm from the north. I'm from up by the polar circle, and up there, most people don't want to be in a film. It's something about it, like people that want to keep their secrets to themselves, that intrigues me. So they were convinced just to go to the audition. They didn't really want to go. It was their siblings, they wanted to try. And then we sort of convinced them. And then Tintin, the girl, when she got the part, she dropped out because she said, no, high school is more important to me and my grades. I had to convince her to still try this. And I think she's so good for this because she has this strong integrity. And I think she's from a Sami family, like I am. And I think maybe I recognize it from my own family, this sense of pride, maybe. Because I needed a teenage girl who would be such a strong opponent to her mother. She is in a way the antagonist in the story. She's the one. I mean, I see it as a love story between a mother and her children. So she's the one who has to be convinced.
Sure.
Or she has to win her back. And how do you win back the trust of your child when she has been let down by you? It's hard to prove yourself. And she can't really promise anything, even though she tries to. She can't promise them a certain future because she's not sure what's going to happen. So, and I really think she has that. So I'm really happy they tried this. Yeah.
Convince them. Well, it worked out very well. The shoot was very difficult because I guess there's a 60-degree difference between the north of Sweden and Tenerife. Yeah. Tell us about the difficulties of that shoot.
I wanted, for me, it was very important to work with the cold and the heat. I grew up with the cold, pretty close to where we shot this. That kind of cold where it becomes like a desert of snow. In a way, it's like there's some kind of Western about it, I think, because everyone can see where you are in these little villages. They all know you went to that house and then over to the neighbor, you're surveilled. And if you're out in the cold, it's physically painful. If you're out there for a long time. So being like an outsider in that world, you can actually feel that on your, like, physically. And then she takes them to this paradise. And for us, going on a charter trip, as we also say in Swedish, for us it's very much the Canary Islands. It's like it's like the oldest tradition of where you go for a week of vacation, and that's where where you go to have these happy memories with your families and reconnect. So I really wanted to go there. And also I think Canary Islands are interesting because it's lava, stone and desert, so it's kind of rough. And they built these little paradise resorts, right? But they're all artificial. They're made to make you happy, but if you step outside, it's dead lava stone. It's a desert. So I wondered that. I guess it also reminds me of home, like the mountains and the rough landscape. And I think it's important to try to find the right landscape for climate for each film, because film is all about externalizing how it feels, how something feels. So, I mean, yeah, it was difficult, and many of us fell ill, going from -32 to +30 degrees Celsius, and from the cold to the lava desert. But I think it adds something rather than being in an apartment.
Sure.
Could have been the case, right? Or in a court case, a courtroom, or. And also I wanted to play with this, paradise, vacation paradise. I mean, we all go there because we want to have happy memories with our families and, have the best of times. And I think it's always difficult. I don't know what your vacations are like, but it's never.
They never live up to the expectations. It's never as perfect as you imagine. And I guess Alice is trying to create this perfect paradise for her children, but the future is so unknown.
Yeah, and also I thought about it. Sorry. I also thought about it a lot, because many of the women that have gone abroad with their children in these cases that have then gone to prison, they've been to these like charter resorts, vacation resorts, because you can't go to where your own family lives because the police will find you. And if you go abroad, it feels better to go to a place that feels familiar to the kids, that feels like a vacation, rather than, somewhere where you don't know how it works and you can't speak the language. So it's a sense of safety maybe around it, happiness and lightness, that you want to give to your kids in this emergency situation.
So 2 films in a row working with child non-actors in extreme weather conditions. Tell us about your next project and what that's going to be like.
Yeah, I'm actually working on it now. That's why I'm in this strange room filled with Post-its, actually. Well, it's a contemporary love story in Sápmi, in the Sami region. And I think, like every film I've made, I started making shorts when I was 19. And I think they're all about what you're prepared to sacrifice for your family. And what if you don't? Like, what if you let them down? What's a betrayal?
Yeah.
And what's your responsibility? So, but now in a Sami, like indigenous context, it's also what you're prepared to sacrifice for your people. So it's like your family and your people. It's a wider context, which I think is really interesting. What responsibility do you have? Yeah.
That sounds fascinating. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us. We wish you all the very best with the new film. And we hope that will be the opportunity for you to come to Sydney Film Festival and present that film to our audience.
Yeah, I hope so. And thank you for having me. I'm really happy that you invited the film to screen at your festival. I know it's such a good festival, and I hope I can come another year. And thank you for having this conversation with me.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
That was great.